So, hey Daisies, we're officially at the Bangalore Palace, and this is how huge it actually is. And this is actually just used as the summer palace, that is, it's used for a vacational spot, as well as the big arena of the palace is used as a playground for the siblings of the Vadayar family to actually play in during the month of June, as they actually celebrate their uncle's birthday in this palace. So, starting with the history of the palace, it is actually not a palace by its own birth, but it was just a home which was after that turned into, an architectural marvel, that is a palace of the Vadayar family by a family architecture. So after that, we can come to know about the staircase. So the staircase is actually made up of rosewood, where you can see rose petals which are distinguished from one another. So these rosewood petals on the rosewood floor leads to something called as the paintings and the armor, which are as same as they are hereditary. So the hierarchy in them is seen through the jewels as well as the embroidery design that's worn in them, and that is not at all distinguished because it comes from the hierarchy of the rulers. So next we can see the dining room, or also known as the darbar famously. So the darbar was actually used as the place where you discuss all the courtroom scenes, and where the women can actually sit directly in front of the ruler. That is, the ruler sits in a huge chair embroidered with a huge a glass kind of pane behind, and then the windows and all the pane of glasses are gothic, and there's an embroidered curtain which is the same material as the high class women wear parda as, so that no one from the outside can have a view of the inside, but the people from the inside can have the view of an outside. So, and then when we walked through, we could see a lot of paintings in this hallway or in the staircase, where we actually came through a lot of paintings that had discovered the hunting of elephants, the art of hunting of elephants and tigers discovered by the warrior family. So for the party, we can see Arthur Conan Doyle's son and wife, who is Russian princess, being invited, and the Russian princess herself talks to the warrior king that killing poor innocent elephants and tigers is actually not a part of being artful, and artisticness actually comes from innocence. So after hearing these famous lines by the Russian princess, that's the wife of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the author of Sherlock Holmes, is a fictional character made by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. After hearing the words of his wife, a Russian princess, our ruler changes his mindset and leaves the sport, as he considered that to be an artistic sport of its own. So, and then we can also come through a hallway where we could see the paintings that depicted the celebrations of the Dasara, even though it's actually famous in the North India, but celebration of Dasara in Mysore as well as the Bangalore Palace are the most unique, and all people actually come to have a look at it. So and then we could also see a lot of childhood images of the warrior family, like the first steps of the baby, the marriages, and also every little scene were photographed, as they thought that that was an artistic way of displaying the future generations of themselves into hereditary and hierarchy. So, and then we could also see a painting which was the very famous painting. So I think it was the original rape scene of two maidens that were kidnapped by the it was the son of the star's son, as well as the planet Jupiter, who actually kidnapped two maidens and then raped them. So that's an original scene, and I think it's preserved in the Australian Museum, if I'm not wrong. And then we could also see the Cleopatra's banquet. So in the Cleopatra's banquet, we could see Cleopatra holding a very precious pearl. So this precious pearl of Cleopatra was actually used to dissolve in the cup of drink that she was about to drink, and she also promised one of her guests that she would be offering them the most special banquets that they would never find in any other place of the world. After she fulfills her promise, and then she dissolves the precious, I think it's not the mother of pearl, but the precious pearl that is depicted in the Cleopatra's banquet picture into the drink, and then it is then served to the guest that she promised she would be serving it for. So after we actually look at the adorned, the places and all, let's come to know about the lifestyle of the people. So the warrior families, men and women, that's the princesses and the princes, were actually separated from one another. Like there was this one curtain which allowed the women to look down on what was happening in the men's arena, that was mostly called as the men's resting area, okay, which was adorned by a huge fountain and an ark, as well as a bench which was gifted by the warrior king to his guests and his dignitaries when they arrived to have a look at the warrior palace. So, and then what our family members themselves have spoken about remembering the little days where they've played in the playground, that is the arena, which was actually used as the playground of the palace. And then we come to about the women's area. So that was also adorned by a fountain that was filled with water before. So it was also adorned with a lot of mirrors and a lot of vessels placed next to them, and also a can of water made up of iron. I hope that was a very precious kind of metal, and that's actually the only artifact in the whole palace that's not allowed to touch. So the women actually had a parda kind of material, a curtain, through which they could see what was happening outside, but the obscurers could not see what was actually happening inside, as it was the women's room and it needed a lot of safety. So after that, that was actually considered to be the place where they had the pan served after dinner, which were adorned in the plates of silver designed by the architect Chris, the famous family architect of the Warrior family during the age. So, and then also inside the Bengaluru Palace, you have a kind of an audio guide that's given. And these are all the information that I actually remember from the audio guide. First, we talked about the infrastructure of the palace, and then we talked about the lifestyle of the people that so what are rulers. So guys, meet you in the next video because I have to go now, and this is all the information I gathered from the famous Bangalore Palace. Anyway guys, bye bye, meet you in the next video.